that'll segue me into my next question, which is a basketball question, but it's more or less on the, like you talked about, the management side. So if you look at the Houston Rockets and, again, Harden has done his thing. I think James Harden is who he is, and the success that they've had down there. But my question for you would be more or less around the building of teams. What do you think about this? The NBA, and the NBA's done it, or the Rockets have done it more specifically, using sort of a non-basketball formula to, shape and build a team. What are your thoughts about that? Like having non-basketball people, because I'm very passionate about that part. I think that in certain circumstances, you just need people who have the experience from being inside the web, right, to sort of help craft. I think that's why the Warriors, are going to be able to bounce back, because they have a lot of basketball. You know how many basketball people they have.
Look, the basketball, like when it comes to basketball, and you're in the Western Conference Finals, and you need all the prayers you can get. You need all the hope, right, and the love, right. If you ain't got no people upstairs that care, that is like, it's a job, and don't have, like, imagine when you was hooping, like, all the Warrior fans who were just calling on the basketball guys and their prayers, dog. You know what I'm saying? In the organization, who had something, like, you got Jerry West there.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, you have you.
Yeah, that's a legacy, bro.
Yeah, but there's an important. I just feel like right now there's this space, this weird space that exists between.
They're trying to make basketball technology.
Right. And they don't have the element, teams like the Rockets, where Phoenix is going through this now for the last God knows how many years. Yeah. Phoenix is one of the best cities, one of the best NBA cities. They should never have a bad team. But they don't have enough basketball people, in my opinion, in positions of influence
at all.
To change the nature of that organization.
You can just start going down the chain of command, dude.
Right.
You can start going down the chain of command. Like, my whole thing is, why wouldn't you bring back those important veterans? Like, why wouldn't you, if you're going to treat it like a company, treat it like a committee, advisory board, have some of those old vets, have some of your legends being able to sit on the floor, sit around. Like, that's going to make the players play better. That's who they playing for. And for, like, that legacy, they playing because they know, dog, if Jerry West say, I'm good, I'm good. No matter what my contract said. You can make it $20 million a year, right? But if you can't walk through that tunnel and dudes is like, what's up, homie? It's your peers, right? And it's also like the OGs and the legends and the people like that. And, like, you want legacy people around, because that energy is the energy you need around building a culture. When you look at someone like the Houston Rockets, James Harden has been carrying that organization by himself. He's played with 7 different styles of teams. Like, you got close one year, when you had Capella, Trevor, and all of, you know what I mean? But, like,
no consistency.
In like a 3 or 4 year in this 5-year MVP stretch.
Right. And he's been on a hell of a run too, man. I feel for a guy like that, because I feel like the way that they've shaped those teams around him, they haven't made the best basketball this season.
There's the only challenge and the only goal that can be set is the goal that he sets for himself. Now, him and Russ got to take that with him. And there's no, like, damn near Mario bungees, happening in the organization that.
It goes back to organizational culture.
I don't know the relationship with Akeem. I don't know the relationship with Steve Francis. I don't know the relationship with a Clyde Drexler or a Kenny Smith. Or if James don't have that, or if he don't have Jerry West, or, you know what I mean, an Isaiah Thomas or a Dumars, or you know what I mean, somebody just be like, yo, man, from hooper to hooper, like, I'm trying to be the greatest. Like, he is trying to be the greatest ever. Right? Russ is trying to be the greatest ever in his space. You feel what I'm saying? And so that's not an experiment, because if you're experimenting, that means you're just as bad as the Phoenix Suns. I remember that trade that they made with the Clippers when they brought CP over. He was right there.
Right. Got to make it work.
If you got a James Harden. You got, you got to make it work if you got a Giannis. But at least Milwaukee has that culture.
Yeah.
You can tell. You can feel it. You know what I mean? You can feel it. It feels like a basketball community. You can see it. You know what I mean? When you go there. So it's really like about the teams and the culture that they want to build, right? And if it's real or if it's not. I think even for the Warriors, they had an incredible culture in the beginning, right? And the Warriors start winning. It created a certain prestige and culture. And then, but at the same time, they never lost track of their roots.
Never.
So even though they're losing this year and they're having a bad year, right? They still have championship pedigree. And that's what you have to build, right, as an organization, holistically.
How critical would you say it is also to draft and develop your own talent? Because I think you've talked a little bit about that, like with the Warriors, Steph, Clay, Dre, all those guys that they drafted and developed and brought up within that culture. But you don't have that at the Rockets organization. They're constantly making the trades. They're never drafting and developing their own talent.
Because then, like to D West's point, they don't have anybody there.
Yeah, it's lack of basketball people.
Yeah, they didn't. They it's a lot of pressure, I would say. And I didn't know this. I just but you can tell. But it's a lot of pressure. You can tell on Harden and the coaching staff, and like it stops almost like right there, even to the point of just the branding of the organization, the way the organization is portrayed, right? You know what I mean? The marketing, all the things that I look at, outside of just the gameplay, you can tell that, James is carrying this bag, right? The coaching staff have all these bricks to carry, you know what I mean? It's really just kind of like putting the basketball culture that they have, right, is putting so much pressure on them, right, to figure it out. And that just shows you how good they are. But you're giving the coach 7 different teams. You're giving the main players 7 different teams. Like they keep getting close, and you keep making them start from scratch.
I don't want to keep piling on them, but I just think that because they were so vocal about we're going to go with the analytics way and we're going to pick analytics people and we got analytics people making decisions about our basketball roster and our basketball world. I think that they're the case study. Like, they put all the chips on the table toward analytics, and it just hasn't, in my opinion, it hasn't warranted the respect that they think we should give it.
So I think when you start thinking about like data and analytics, when it comes to percentages and things like that, it starts to like mess with, like you can't measure your heart, you can't measure your mind, right?
It strips out the human element.
Yeah, you can't measure like the focus.
I just think that it's sometimes when people make the decision to use analytics as a structural tool as opposed to like just a side note, like it's a way for you to analyze certain things, but you should not use an analytics sort of approach to develop your basketball identity. And I think that's where we haven't, and I say I'm talking about guys who played the game, we haven't been able to get that point of view across, particularly the young players. Because I tell young players all the time, you can't create yourself or try to mold yourself into a basketball player based on some analytic context. You got to think about, like, again, like you said, your confidence, like who you actually are. What are your physical traits? Like, your strength, like what are your abilities? Do you have the courage to do certain things? Like, you know how it goes. So to me, it's always this balance we're seeking to fight. And when organizations like Houston declare that, hey, we're doing this because we've got this this identity around analytics. Young players think that, hey, man, I just got to, if I go out and try to build myself like a Houston Rockets player, like a James Harden, then I'm going to give myself a shot. But we all know that Harden is a
one of a kind.
One of a kind, right? You're not getting ready to recreate James Harden.
No,
and that's part of the conversation that I think we got to be more vocal about, because that helps guys from making these decisions like, I'm going to be a basketball player based on some analytical context that you and I know. It's like you can't really develop yourself that way. You're not going to be able to develop the certain parts of yourself internally and physically that you need if you're thinking about this analytic approach to the game.